here I wanted to show you how can once we write an algorithm like this, right now it's sorting by what criteria? It's sorting the numbers by greater than, less than, right? Everyone agree? It's sorting by ascending order, right?
Yes, yeah.
So now suppose I want to run this and I want to put a list of strings. Okay, so Ashish, if you look in my algorithms test, I think there should be an algorithm test there. I think it's a second test, bubble sort with compare, right? And just look inside that one. Or you can copy, just look at these bubble sort with function, I think I called it. Just copy that thing, inside that. Bubble sort with function, yeah. Just copy that and let's put it in a code file. Yeah, and I have bubble sort with function. You can put it right on top of that. And just put comment lines around it. So the idea is, suppose I had a list which is like apple, orange, and fig. So it has 3 strings in it. And I want to sort it by the length of these strings. Will the code as we write it, will it work? If we pass to our bubble sort this list, will it work?
No, it won't.
Okay.
No.
So, no, it won't work. And the question is, what does greater than, lesser than do when you take 2 strings? Okay, and I'm going to say it's going to do some alphabetical thing with the list, with the string. So the idea is actually very simple. Remember, we discussed higher order functions in the first session. What was the idea in higher order function? That we can pass a function to another function, right? So the idea is here, you see how I've written the signal bubble sort with a function. I'm saying if I pass in a function is greater than, okay, then I can use this function to write my code. So Ashish, actually just copy the whole code, na? Just copy the whole code down from above. So I will not change the algorithm at all, but I will eliminate the greater than. You can take the whole thing. Everything, including the return, yeah. Okay, so wherever greater than is, I'm going to call a function is greater than. So the second argument, yeah, take off that greater than and write it as a function. Instead of greater than, I'm going to call a function called is greater than. Careful, you have caps lock. And it has to be on the left-hand side, Ashish, before you write it. Yeah, is greater than bracket, comma. Yeah. Does everybody see what Ashish just did? Instead of using the greater than operator, he called a function. Will our code work now? No, it will just do what the previous code did. Will it do what the previous code did?
No.
Why?
There is no function defined is greater than.
But you can define it. So define this function. Let's define it. Def is greater than. Okay. And it has to do what? It has to take 2 values, A and B. And it has to return. Is A greater than B.
It's
So for example, right now you can just say A greater than B. Just to, if you want to mimic what we did before, you can just say return A greater than B. Okay. So we just did something very simple in this case. Do you think this code will work? Can we try test it quickly, Ashish? So go back to main, go to main. And just replace this with, a function and you put is greater than.
It's greater than, okay.
Yeah. No. This is called bubble sort with function, right?
Sorry.
Yeah. Is everyone with me here? Cassandra?
Oh, kind of, yes.
Yes. Kiran?
Yes.
Yes. So all I did is instead of using the operator greater than, I moved it to a function. And you have to pass the function in as a special argument, right? Not that one yet, Ashish. We can't run. We're going to run the old code, yeah?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. We're going to run the old code. But you have to pass in the greater than function as a second argument. Bubble sort with function. You have to give the list, comma. No, it has to be inside, na? Next after the list, bracket, comma. And now you have to do the greater than is defined in the file sort, so dot is greater than. Okay, so let's just pause and look at this call. Does everybody understand this call? Is it called is greater? What is the name of the function? Is greater. No space there, Ashish. Yeah. Okay, so the function is called is greater. We've written a function is greater, which does basically what we want it to do, right? It's just comparing two numbers in this case. So let's run the code and see what happens. Run main. There's a colon missing. It did the same job, yeah? But this is not what is interesting. Now let's replace this is greater and just make it, okay, is greater. Instead of returning A greater than B, do length of A greater than length of B.
Sorry, once again.
Len A greater than len B. So if A and B are strings, for example, this will compare the length of the strings, right? So now go back to our main, and instead of passing in integers, put that list of apple, fig, whatever we had. What do you think? What is going to happen? First, before we run it, let's think. Will it work?
Yeah, it should work.
It should work. Cassandra?
I don't know.
Okay, let's run it. Let's run it, then we'll talk about it. Is it in the correct order by length?
Yeah.
3 is smallest, 4 is next, or 5 is next, and then whatever, right? So now Cassandra, ask me some question.
I'm sorry, I forgot what we're trying to do, but okay, to sort a list of, yes, okay. Not, I thought we were trying to alphabetize it. That's why I got really confused.
No, so if you can write, so instead of length, if you write a function that will compare two strings alphabetically,
okay,
then you replace the length function with the compare alphabetically, it will do alphabetical, right? So the idea is that this function is greater than is an example of what is called a comparative function. And the code we wrote is a higher order function. It says I can sort a list on any criteria as long as you give me a function that can compare two values. Right? Whatever the criteria for comparison, deciding who is greater. If it's alphabetical, it's one comparison. If it's by length, it's another comparison. If it's numerical, it's another comparison. This idea is very deep, right? The idea that we can separate the algorithm from the comparison function.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of swapping them does not depend on whether we're doing by numerical value or alphabetical value or length. Right? The idea of swapping. So the quicksort algorithm doesn't depend on the compare function.
Mm-hmm.
And using higher order functions, we separated the comparison function and we made it a parameter. So now we got a huge, powerful thing, right? We can sort anything on any criteria as long as we have a sensible compare function. So now we put it in the library and we ship this code to our clients. They can compare by whatever they want. And then they can get sorting by whatever they want. Does everybody realize the power of this idea?
Yeah.
Yeah? And the power comes from the fact that the algorithm and the logic is decoupled in a clever way. You break it at the right place. You recognize that the comparison can be separated out. But that's what I want to say at this moment. Just pause. Any questions or thoughts? What do you think? I'll make one more comment here. For those who don't realize the power of this, imagine if you didn't have this idea, you would have written many sorting programs, right? One program to sort by length, one program to sort by alphabetical, one program to sort numerical, one program to sort. Because each time I give you a different criteria, you're going to write the whole thing, you're going to copy it and just rewrite it, right? And instead of in one place, you're going to change the code. The rest of the code is going to be the same, right? So if you had gone back 30, 40, 50 years ago, even today, there are a lot of people who write code like this. The algorithm is the same. The logic is slightly different. They repeat the whole code again. And so suddenly they have thousands of lines of code. But once you recognize this, you have one block of code and then just a few functions, different comparison functions. See how compact your code base has become. You see how powerful it is. Yes? Okay. But let me pass around. What do you think, Kiran? Powerful? Interesting?
Yeah, feature, it's very interesting. The only thing I was thinking was how to, compare strings and then place them in a dictionary order of sorting.
So the idea is to place them in dictionary order. No, I'm just saying, you just have to rewrite this function is greater than. Suppose I give you two strings. So here's the question we should ask. If I give you two strings, BAT and CAT.
Yep.
Are they in dictionary order or not?
They are already in dictionary order.
If they are in dictionary order, return true. Otherwise, return false. That's it.
Okay.
But you have to implement the logic to check if BAT and CAT are in dictionary order. So now that's a clever check, right? If I give you two strings and say, are they in dictionary order? How will you check? That becomes another algorithm.
Right, yes.
Does anybody,
Yes.
Can you tell me how this algorithm will work? You just don't have to solve it, just heuristics. What do you have to do to determine if two strings are in dictionary order?
So compare the first letter, then compare the second letter.
That's it. As soon as one letter is bigger than the other, you're done, right?
Yeah.
The first violation, if both start with, one starts with B and one starts with C, then we already know they're in dictionary order.
Correct.
Right? So already the first letter can save you. If the first letter doesn't save you, then you look at the next letter. And then you keep going until you break the tie, right? If they are all equal until the last letter, you have to check. If it goes till the last letter, then they are basically equal. Then it doesn't matter which one you return. Yeah. So you should write this function, for example, is greater than, write the logic. It's a what kind of loop? It's a for loop, right? It's for loop over the two strings, and you can compare. Make sense?
Yeah.
All of you should write something like that and see, okay? But I'm just showing how this world of algorithm, but this has nothing to do with the sorting idea. Right? This just checks which string is bigger first and which string is last, which is bigger, which is smaller, right? But alphabetically now. You can do alphabetical, then you can do reverse alphabetical if you want. Just have to apply the logic in the opposite way, right? So whatever you think of, you can easily do. You can write a small library here of all kinds of comparison functions.